So sixth grade, we're getting back again today and looking at volume, and we're working out of the old book today, pages 514 and 515, and so we're looking at volume of rectangular prisms. Now we've already talked about the volume of rectangular prisms a little bit. We want you to remember that formula: length times width times height. All right, so that's that formula there. For a triangular prism, very similar to how you find the area of a rectangle, length times width, and then the area of a triangle is the length of the base times the height divided by 2. Well, for a triangular prism, it's length times width times height, but then all of that divided by 2. So I'm going to freeze right here. Whether you need to take a screenshot, whether you need to write this down, but I'm going to erase this in about 10 seconds. These are two formulas you will need to know for this assignment. Rectangular prism equals length times width times height. Triangular prism equals length times width times height divided by 2. So I'm erasing in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'm going to clear this out of here just like we would the board at school. You should now have that written down to refer to somewhere. So let's say here we have a rectangular prism. We've kind of been drawing some of these. Through the years, I've gotten much better. And there we go. And we're going to say that this is 9 inches. This is 8 inches. This is 7 inches. So that's our rectangular prism. 9 inches long, 8 inches wide, 7 inches tall. So since to find the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height, all I'm doing is multiplying these three numbers together. And like we said, it does not matter when I'm multiplying. We've said this before, what order I multiply them in. As long as I do the multiplication correctly, no matter what order I put these numbers in, the multiplication problem will equal the same. Now, I know that 9 times 8 is 72, so I'm going to start there. So then I'm just going to come over here and do 72 times 7. Well, 7 times 2 is 14. Put the 4 down, carry the 1. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 1 is 50. And so I get 504 cubic inches. Remember, it's cubic inches. We've talked about the Rubik's Cube. And if I have a cube that is 1 inch tall, 1 inch wide, 1 inch long, a perfect cube, I can fit 504 cubes that size inside this box that has these dimensions. 9 inches long, 8 inches wide, 7 inches tall. Now, we also have triangular prisms. So let's look at one here. All right, this is going to be a little more interesting. But there's our triangle. And so then we're going to kind of make a dotted line to here, dotted line there, dotted line there. Not terrible. And we're going to have a distance here with a right angle. What this means is that this is going to be the height of the triangle, the distance from the top to the bottom. Notice that not one of these sides of the triangle actually reflect the height, because it's not a right triangle. It's a, here's a right angle, but it's not working. So none of them is the height. The height is the distance from the top to the bottom. All right, we're going to say that the height is 2.4 meters. All right, and then it's going to tell me that this height right here, okay, this length is 3.8 meters, and then this distance right here is going to be 9.3 meters. So what I have here now, much more interesting. This is going to be a little more involved, not necessarily more difficult than the first one, but it's going to be a little more tedious, and it's going to require a little more calculation. Now remember, you wrote down on the previous, before I erased it, This is a triangular prism. You have a triangle at the top, a triangle at the bottom, all connected by a rectangle. So I have a big rectangle here at the bottom, one over here, one over here. So to find the volume, which remember volume is how much fits inside. For a triangular prism, it's length times width times height divided by 2. All right? So length times width times height divided by 2. So where do I want to start? Well, first off, I'm going to show you a little shortcut that I think is going to make your life easier. And that is that you can take one of these numbers and cut them in half. You can do your division by 2 early, okay? And then you can just multiply. So I'm saying, well, if I'm thinking, okay, 2.4, that ends in 4, so that should be able to be divisible by 2. If I come over here and do 2.4 and divide it by 2, 2 can go into 2 once. Bring my decimal straight up. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the 4. 2 can go into 4 twice. And I know that 2 times 2 is 4, so there's none left over there, and I get 1.2. Half of 2.4 is 1.2. So I do my division early, which means now the only thing I'm doing is 1.2 times 3.8 times 9.3. And this problem right here will give you the same answer as to if I used all 3 original numbers, got an answer, and then divided by 2. Just saving myself a little time. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start over here with 1.2 times 3.8. So 1.2 times 3.8. 8 times 2 is 16. Put the 6 down, carry the 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. I'm going to put a 0 down so it all lines up with my 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. I need to add these numbers together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 6 is 15. Put the 5 down, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. I get 456. I need to remember my rule of multiplying decimals. 1, 2 numbers come after the decimal in the problem. So 1, 2 numbers need to come after the decimal in the answer. So I get 4.56, but then I need to take that 4.56 and multiply it by 9.3. So I'm going to go ahead and get my other board out here. All right, and I'm going to take that 4.56 and I'm going to multiply that by 9.3. Okay, remember when you multiply, decimals do not need to be lined up. 3 times 6 is 18. Put the 8 down, carry the 1. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus the 1 is 16. Put the 6 down, carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus the 1 is 13. Put a 0 down so everything lines up with my 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Put the 4 down, carry the 5. 9 times 5 is 45. Plus 5 is 50. Put the 0 down, carry the 5. 9 times 4 is 36. Plus the 5 is 41. So now we're going to add those together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. Put the 0 down, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 0 is still 4. 1 plus 1 is 2. Nothing 4 is 4. There are 1, 2, 3 numbers that come after the decimal in the problem. So 1, 2, 3 numbers that come after the decimal in the answer. I get an answer of 42.408. What's the unit I used? Cubic meters. And I don't have to divide that by 2, remember, because I made my 2.4 a 1.2. If you don't do that division first, you're fine. Just multiply the 3 numbers that are there, but then remember to divide by 2. But depending on your numbers, you just might make your multiplication much easier by dividing it by 2. All right, so we're going to clear a little space here. And we're going to talk about the second part of what shows up on old book page 515. So it's going to tell you to find the unknown length. Let me get this turned here. Find the unknown length. All right, and so once again, it's going to give you a rectangular prism. So we're going to draw that here. Sorry for the shaky camera work, but you get the idea. We're going to say that the volume is 900 cubic centimeters. All right, and we're going to see here that that distance is x. This distance is 5 centimeters. This distance is 9 centimeters. Okay, so I know rectangular prism is length times width times height equals volume. So if length times width times height equals volume, I should be able to reason that 9 times 5 is 45, and that 45 times whatever x equals should equal 900, because it says the volume equals 900. So I should be able to set up an equation. Something like that should be familiar. Once again, let me repeat how I got there. Formula for volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height equals the volume. So I take the two numbers that I know, 9 times 5, that equals 45. 45 times x has to equal what the volume is, 900. Well, so I'm just going to divide everything by 45. 45x divided by 45 is going to equal x. So I just need to come over here now and do 900 divided by 45. That's not a very difficult division problem, 6th grade. Without too much difficulty, we should realize that 45 can go into 90 twice, and that 2 times 45 equals 90, and that 90 minus 90 is 0. I'm bringing the 0 down. If I bring down, I have to start over. 45 cannot go into 0, so I got to put a 0 up here. X equals 20. X equals 20 centimeters. And sure enough, 20 times 5 equals 100. 100 times 9 equals 900. 900 cubic centimeters. All right, let's clear this one more time. For find the unknown length, this will be the last part of the video. Let's get our triangle up here again. Triangular prism. Okay. Dotted line, dotted line, dotted line. All right, and it's going to tell us that the volume is equal to 162 cubic meters. All right, that's our volume. All right, this length here is 6 centimeters. This length here is 6 centimeters, and this length here is x. So I'm thinking, okay, what in the world is going on here? So when I look at this, now my video is all a little foggy here.